I will start with pictures and invite you to explain them for yourselves. My explanation could be a little bit yes, biased at the end. When we look at the great wave in the middle of the picture, maybe you think about something different, and the wave of new mandates, new questions of your customers is something you like to remember. I'm remembering tons of complaints and other things we received, even not the nicer ones. This was the core impression for many of us in the starting phase of GDPR. We were just blown away from all these new questions and these many cases we received. And so, of course, sometimes we shift to the other impression we all had in the last years, the coronavirus. But I think when we remember still the wave and the changes that were upcoming with GDPR are the core impression we all have in mind when we remember this starting phase. The following pictures are not all self-explaining. Of course, with the first picture, you remember Max and all his issues he had with our transatlantic partners, but the second one is a little bit different, although it was already mentioned. It's the bridges from GDPR, from privacy law to other laws, like we had it also discussed this morning in competitive law and other sectors. Just to broaden your perspective, we also discuss now on a very high level, I think, privacy issues when it comes to workers or employees law. What leads to a very difficult situation. All of you like to discuss how fragmented we are in Europe or in Germany especially. But we are not only fragmented when it comes to data protection authorities, we are also fragmented when it comes to the courts, the judges who are responsible for telling us how GDPR has to be applied. So this is the most complex picture, and some of them will follow. Ransomware is not my issue. It was already discussed very much in detail. But coming only back to one aspect, we were also blown away from all of the notifications of data breaches. We are still surprised about the impressions we get about what is going on out there, what is happening in the companies. And when you are asking me, do I like more the mass of complaints or the mass of data breach notifications? The last one I love more, because they are more useful for us. They help us more to analyze situations and to give you, together with all your experts, some kind of advice. And we try to establish a culture of giving you guidelines, checkbox tests, and other things to share these impressions we have from these cases. Now, the next one is more or less self-explaining, so I don't have to tell you about, and you already have discussed. But these are the ones who are the most complicated pictures. What does the first one show? Not the situation of privacy families, not at all. It might be. Are you now married with GDPR? No, this is not the question. This shows a shift we have, and this shift is still getting stronger and larger in a certain sense. Normally, as data protection authorities, we are expected to be, as you saw in our last report, guardian of a fundamental right. The friends, those who help the complainants, the individuals. But on the other hand, we are often expected that we give advice. And so it's a permanent shift. Are we the enforcer of GDPR, or are we someone who teaches, who advises in privacy issues? And you may look at this problem from many perspectives. It goes to procedural aspects and many others. And my advice or my presumption is that these questions will get more and more obvious for many of us in the next weeks. The lockdown picture is not what it's supposed to be. It's not the lockdown that you all remember. It's the lockdown we decided to have when it comes to advising Bavarian companies in data protection questions, because we decided that we, for the phase we have and looking at the resources we have so far, that it's more important to care for the complaints we have, to care for the question of are you able to respond within 3 months when you have 33 people and about 5,000 complaints and about 4,000 data breach notifications. So this is for the moment the truth when it comes to our advisory garden. I hope we are able to put this away in hopefully next year when our resources got a little bit better. And the next pictures are rather obvious. The message is clear. The first one, or the left one, is looking at the things that are already there, our discussions about sharing data, about using AI, but are still not in the heads of many managers and not at all of our political leaders. I'm a little bit afraid. And the last one is coming to an issue I want to introduce a little bit more in detail, because I would expect that you're interested in. But you can completely, yes, tell me what you like to hear. Would you like to hear a little bit more about our joint enforcement operation on the role of DPOs, or are you bored on this issue? Oh. When you don't raise your hands and don't give me some signs, I suppose you're bored. Is somebody in here who has a customer or who has received a letter, an invitation to participate in this joint enforcement action? No one in here? Okay, so I have to explain. The background of it is the finding of all European supervisory authorities that cooperation is one of the major goals in GDPR we have to reach and we have to improve. So we decided 3 or 4 years already back that we should find a stable structure for cooperation and for making this cooperation also obvious for companies, for controllers and processes. So we started with initiative to have an annual joint enforcement activity, which is on the way on a common pre-selected issue. The first one was the use of cloud services in the public sector, and everyone will quickly realize that it's about using Microsoft, AWS, and others, but not by companies, but by public authorities. So this was the opportunity to invite the EDPS and join this joint enforcement. There is no one is forced to participate. It's voluntary, but at the end, the majority of supervisory authorities is participating. What's important is that this is also the starting point for a common investigation, and that it doesn't have to be a formal investigation. It may be also something like an interview and fact-finding exercises. Many of my colleagues tell what means that another supervisory authority tells you about this initiative. It may sound a little bit different because they made interviews or something else. At the end, it started, it's not over, and you will see first results in first quarter of next year, probably March. You will also have the opportunity to read a little bit about this special project. There is released in the ZD. You all should read day by day. A small text from my colleague Thomas Kranig, and there is already released another one from the expert Thomas Heberlein? No, Horst Heberlein, former colleague in the Commission. Now, why is it interesting, and why do we find that it's useful to take a look in this questionnaire you didn't receive, but which might be useful for you as a self-assessment? We think that this questionnaire touches the core questions of every data protection governance structure in a company, and gives you, in case you are a DPO, a good self-assessment. What is important from the perspective of a supervisory authority? What might be something to discuss with your controller, your customer? For us in Bavaria, it's serious. It's not a fact-finding exercise, it's a true investigation. So we look not only at the answers you give, and we hope that you're honest and fair. We look also in your papers. We look at your organization charts. We would like to have a look in your report, which is not mandatory, but it's the best practice we see so far, so we are curious. And we will look also in other papers like data protection policies or other things in case of unclarity. What is the motivation behind all this? Of course, it's an European initiative, and we all remember that the history of DPO started in Germany. So it's crystal clear that at least one supervisory authority in Germany should participate and share all the experience we and you have with the other European colleagues who are a little bit not as, yes, who are new in this field. But we see, and this is the, no, sorry, I'm just a little bit confused. No, I won't get to the picture with this golden, yes, symbol, and I'm here. We are a little bit worried about the situation of data protection officers in the 5th year of GDPR. We think that maybe things started strong and correct, but now discipline is a little bit lacking. And other tasks, like, for instance, the debate we have right now about the people who care for whistleblowing, are a little bit raising shadows on the role of DPOs. Maybe companies who decided to lower the resources that are available for data protection officers. So we decided that we should care for, because, as I mentioned, we are a weak supervisory authority. With 33 people, you need deputies. And in my understanding, a DPO is sort of deputy. I know it's a little bit to discuss whether this picture is the best one, but at the end, you are a core element as DPO in the governance and compliance structure regarding the application of GDPR. So this is the interest behind this, and the major points we will have to discuss with, in this moment, about 35 entities in Bavaria. So let's continue and look at some at the next thing we we wish to discuss again, because it's important. Yes, sorry. My wife is so right. The adequacy decision. We have released guidelines on this. I hope all of you have seen them so far. These are the simple questions, I think, and some of the current questions which are discussed very often are here on the slide, and you may take it away when this beautiful day is over. I try to give you a sort of short version of that. The core question we often hear is, what about our beautiful SCCs? Are they now something we should delete? Should we go back to our processes and change the contracts again? And the simple answer is, you don't have to do it. because we have the new SECs who have an element more than the older ones, the Article 28 agreement. And all the details you will still need in spite of an adequacy decision when you have a complete arrangement with your processor. The basis of this assessment is, on the first hand, the adequacy decision is prevailing to other instruments. This is a little bit complicated and surprising for some of us, but at the end you can find this simple truth in the text. What means the SECs and all the guarantees are no longer applicable since the adequacy decision is there. And I'm coming back to something Max Schrems mentioned. The adequacy decision is truly there. It's not only a PDF, as he said, because he has not written all the text of the treaties. The adequacy decision is a certain decision of the Commission. It's directed to the member states, and Article 29.7 Article 4 says that those decisions who are directed to the member states are applicable since they are sent to the member states, and this was the case with the adequacy decision. So no worries, it works already. How long? That's another question, but for the moment it works. And so the task for you is not to change your SECs. You may keep them, but you have to change your informations you give based on Article 13 and 14 of GDPR, and make clear that you are now relying, depending on your processor who's certified under the privacy framework, that you're now relying on this adequacy decision. We propose that you may add a sort of disclaimer that you would like to come back to the SECs once the adequacy decision should no longer be there. This might be something useful for you, and of course not the complete truth, because in this moment when the adequacy decision should be again deleted by the European Court of Justice, then you will have to go back to all the recommendations you received in the last years and have to make an assessment whether you have to set up supplementary measures. But for the moment, the situation for your SECs is, in my opinion and our opinion, rather clear. As I would like to discuss some questions that you might have, I'm now finishing with my slides, just to come to the final recommendation. What is important for you? Just one clear answer to all the things that are upcoming when you discuss about the EU data strategy, sharing data, and AI. The core tasks that you have is establishing an effective data governance structure in your company and making sure that your DPO has a proper place in this structure. Not the leading one, that's not necessary, and this is perhaps not appropriate, but a stable one which gives you a clear understanding of privacy issues, and on the other hand ensures that the advice and the knowledge DPOs have about data flows are embedded in this new tasks, and on the other hand, opportunities that your companies have when it comes to Data Act, health, data space, and others. This is a short message of the last two slides. And now let's continue with our discussion if you want to.